Good afternoon, everybody, with a very special welcome to Miss Cummings's class of Glenwood Elementary School in Virginia Beach, Virginia. The third graders, you are most welcome. That is an elephant. My name is James Henry, and on camera today we've got Bryan Joubert, and everybody at Glenwood, it's Bryan's birthday today. He turned 30, which of course for you guys is very old indeed. But for that elephant, who's just shaking his head, he doesn't think that's old at all. He is probably about 25 to 30 years old. In fact, he's probably almost the same age as Bryan. A beautiful elephant bull. Let me just sit down. And what he's doing is just feeding along the riverbed here. This is an old riverbed, and there's no water flowing in it. So he's eating up the green vegetation that grows here in the rich soils. He's just flapping his ears there because he's hot. It's a hot day out here. It's probably about 34 or 5 degrees Celsius, which sits at about almost 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I know you guys work in Fahrenheit. We work in Celsius here in South Africa. We have a whole different measuring system from you, but it can be translated. And so just to keep you posted as to where in the world we are, we're a very, very long way from Virginia Beach. We're all the way across the Atlantic Ocean and all the way down south into the southern hemisphere at the tip of the African continent. And we're in a country called South Africa, and we are in a part of South Africa called the Kruger National Park. Now, I'm sure many of you, in fact, all of you, have probably heard of Yellowstone National Park, and this is the same kind of park that we have here. So it's quite hot, and this elephant is going to spend some time feeding. He might go and have a drink. He certainly was having a drink just before we came to see you. And please remember, you can ask us questions, any questions you like. Send me through a question about this elephant, about anything to do with Africa or South Africa, and I'll do my best to try and answer it for you. And those of you who are not in Miss Cummings' class at Glenwood Elementary School, please also send through your questions. The school drive will be about half an hour long, so the rest of you enjoy that with us, and we'll get to your questions a little bit afterwards. Now, Cheyenne, you're interested in what an elephant might eat. Well, you can see what he's eating. He's eating different kinds of plants. They eat lots and lots. A big elephant bull like this will eat probably up to 600 pounds of vegetation every day. So he will eat those flowers that he's eating there. He will eat grass. He will eat fruits. He will eat pods. He will eat the bark of trees. He will eat small twigs, nuts, all sorts of things. But 600 pounds is what a big elephant bull like this has to eat every single day. And I know that it's sometimes a little bit difficult for you to get an idea of an elephant's size just from where you're sitting there in the classroom. But he stands about 10 or 11 feet at the top of the shoulder. And Christian, you're interested in an elephant's foot. Let me show you with my hands once you've had a look at the feet. The back feet are smaller than the front feet. But those back feet, Christian, I don't know how big your feet are. I'm a size 7, and that elephant would probably wear a size 25 shoe or so. So if Bryan zooms out, I'll show you exactly. So my foot is about that long. It's about a size 7. I don't have a very big foot. Bryan, what size are you?
I'm a size 12 to 13.
So Bryan's foot's about that big, which is pretty big. But that elephant's foot is about that long. And the front foot is about that wide. So it's almost a foot wide and about 1.5 feet long. So a massive, massive foot that elephant has, but he has to carry a huge amount of weight. He has to carry about 6,000 kilograms or 13,000 pounds. That's a massive, massive amount of mass that those feet have to carry. And John, you're interested in why an elephant might have tusks, or why has he got tusks? Well, He's got tusks for a number of reasons. He uses them for lots of different things. This particular bull has got quite small tusks, but he uses them for defense. You can see they're quite sharp. So if he wants to protect himself from other elephants or from predators, well, then he can use those tusks. He also uses them to peel the bark off trees. So he'll go up to a tree, stick that tusk into the side of the tree, grab on the bark with his trunk, and then pull it off. And that's what he does in winter when he's very hungry. Then he will also use it sometimes to wedge between the tusks, the trunk, and a bush. So he'll grab hold of a branch and with his trunk and wedge it between his trunk and his tusks, and then break off that branch so that he can eat it. So those are that's what the tusks are used for. And everybody in the class there, what I would like you to do is open your mouth, take your left hand or your right hand, and touch the front 2 teeth in your mouth, your front 2 top teeth. Just give them a feel, give them a tap. Those front 2 teeth, everybody, these 2 teeth here, the incisor teeth we call them, that's what the tusks are. So they grow, imagine your incisor teeth growing out like that, out of your mouth. That's exactly what an elephant's 2 tusks are. Isn't that interesting? I think that's amazing. Kia, you also had a question. Unfortunately, I've forgotten what it was, because I'm even older than this elephant and older than Bryan. And you want to know if they have any predators, if elephants have any predators. That's a very good question, Kia. Out here, when he's about this size, no. Basically, no predators at all. The only animals that might attack an elephant would be lions, which of course are the biggest predators we get out here, and maybe a very large clan of spotted hyenas. Now, you've all seen the hyenas, I've no doubt, in The Lion King. They're not quite as evil as they're made out to be in that film, but they certainly are formidable predators. A big elephant bull like this, unless he's very weak and sick and perhaps has a big drought and he's had nothing to drink, then he might be killed by lions or hyenas. But I think you'll find a big elephant like this, no real predators out here. Little elephants maybe fall prey to lions and hyenas, but as we know, they are very, very protective elephants of each other. So the mothers and the youngsters within the herd will protect each other and help each other if a predator decides that he wants to attack them. Now, here's very exciting news. We were just talking about lions and hyenas. Let's head across to Brent, my friend, and he's got just one of those things to show you.
So, welcome, guys, and I hope you're enjoying your biology lesson. And here we have one of the predators of Africa. There's a spotted hyena sleeping in the shade. Now, hyenas are very, very, very successful predators because they've got such great patience. Now, there is a male leopard around here somewhere. We haven't been able to find him just yet, but he's there. The hyena's lifted his head, and back to a snooze, because I'm sure the leopard's doing the same thing under a patch of shade. We just haven't been able to see him yet. Now, the reason the hyena's waiting here is that a leopard has got a kill in the tree. So, my name's Brent, and I have Dave on camera, and you joining us live from the African bush. So, it's not always about the big hairies and scaries like the hyenas and elephants. There's some fantastic little creatures here. And let's have a look right there, Dave. You see that spider? A little bit down to the right. Come out a bit. There we go. Look there. Now, you can see that very big X. Now, that's not the spider. That is what's called a stabellum. It looks like a little shock absorber or spring. So the spider's the little thing in the middle. And the reason they build that big white cross across their webs is so that birds don't fly through and break them. It's sort of a warning thing so a bird can see it. And it looks like a little orb spider in the middle there, a little garden orb spider. Olivia is wondering what types of hyena we get in Africa. Well, Olivia, we have 3 types of true hyenas, or actual hyenas. Where's my book? In Africa. And the one we're looking at there is the spotted hyena. And it's the most social and it's the biggest one. So the others are the brown hyena and the striped hyena. Now, there's a 4th member who's part of the hyena family, but it's not a real hyena because he eats termites, and that's an art wolf. So I'm just going to reverse a little bit for you now so we can see why that hyena is hanging around here. So John is wondering what type of food does a hyena eat? Well, John, a hyena is a carnivore, and what that means is he's a meat eater. So he eats meat that he catches himself, so all sorts of buck, antelope and things like that, as well as meat that he steals from leopards and lions, and that's what this hyena is doing here. He's waiting to steal that. So there's a little bit left of an antelope called a kudu. So there we go, you see there's some meat left in the tree, and that's been put there by the male leopard. Now, Sebastian, hyenas are predators. They are meat eaters. And some of them, sometimes they can be slightly omnivorous, so they will eat fruits and other things, but normally they only eat meat. So the 2 types of hyena we get in South Africa are the spotted hyena, and that's the one we've just seen. There he is. That's the one we've just seen. Obviously, that one is standing up, not snoozing. And, oh, where's it now? There we go, the brown hyena. So the brown hyena prefers deserts with no permanent water, whereas the spotted hyena prefers areas that have got more water and a lot more ungulates or antelope. So Camilla is wondering, do hyenas have any predators? They do. Not predators and such. They're animals that will kill them. It won't normally eat them. Baby hyenas can be killed by wild dogs, by leopard at the den if the parents aren't around. But if you're an adult hyena, the only real big threat to you is a male lion. So male lions do kill hyenas quite often. And a hyena will chase a lot of girl lions, but won't go anywhere near a male lion. The hyenas, Evelyn, are not a kind of dog. And there, that's what that hyena's waiting so patiently to get. So the hyena is a hyena, so it's not a dog or a cat. It's probably more closely related to mongooses and bears, but it's been a separate species for a few million years now. Now, hyenas will wait 2 or 3 days for a piece of meat from a leopard to fall. So they're very, very patient. And a lot of animals out here will try to get a free meal rather than try and make the effort of catching their own food. So a male leopard will steal food from a female leopard. Lions will steal from leopard and hyena and cheetah and everything. Mia's wondering, how do hyenas catch their prey? Well, Mia, they're really, really good at stamina, so they can run a long way without getting tired. So they normally tire their prey out, as opposed to a lion or a leopard that tries to jump on them quickly in an ambush. So hyenas can just keep going and going and going. They also rely a lot on babies. They catch lots of little babies that the mothers might leave hiding under a bush. They're good at smelling them out. So they're very, very adaptable creatures. Now, I wonder where this leopard is hiding. Christian's wondering, how much do hyenas weigh? Now, a very big hyena with a very full tummy can weigh about up to 200 pounds, but normally about 180 pounds around there is a more sort of normal weight for a hyena. Bernadette's wondering, are hyenas fast? They're not nearly as fast as a lion or a leopard or an impala, but they're faster than a human being. But they prefer to run much longer distances. They can just keep running and running and running after an animal. Whereas a lion or leopard can run really, really fast, but it gets tired very quickly. So we're going to do one last little squiz around here. We're looking at all the shade, because I think that big male leopard's doing the same thing as that hyena. He's found a nice, cool spot, and he's having a snooze. So Cheyenne's wondering how much fur does a hyena have. They don't have as thicker or as a bigger covering of fur as some of the other animals, and especially as they get older, they lose a lot of the fur around their face, and that's from putting their heads and fighting over carcasses and pieces of meat with other hyenas. Tia and Troy are wondering, what family are hyenas in? Are they part of the cat family? And as we were talking about just now, they're their own family. Their family is called Hyenidae. So the cat family is Felidae, and hyenas are their own family, so they're not part of the cat family. Okay, so maybe that male leopard went down towards the water for a drink because he was thirsty after eating all that kudu, or he could be just sleeping somewhere in the shade. So while we go have a look at the waterhole, let's go see what James has got.
So it's not all about the big creatures, it's also about the small ones. And that is a small bird, about 3/4 of a foot long, and it's called a lilac-breasted roller. And the reason you can't see the colors so well is because he's sort of in the light there. We're facing a little bit too close to the sun. That's why he's silhouetted. But he's such a special bird that he has got 7 different colors on him. And those special tail streamers out behind, which allow him to navigate, or not navigate, which allow him to fly very skillfully. And he catches lots of insects. So that's the lilac-breasted roller. We're going to head back down towards the water now. And we did see some nyala around here. And nyala is a kind of antelope, a very close relative of what that leopard you've just seen has been eating. So we're hoping they're going to pop down through here. Oh, let's quickly go back to the leopard with Brent.
So we found him. He has the big, beautiful male leopard who put that kudu in a tree. And his name is Tingana, which means the shy one. When he first came into this area, he was scared of the cars, but now you can see he's very relaxed. Now, he's the big daddy or boss leopard for this whole area that we take you on safari in. You can see he's breathing very heavily because he's got a very full belly. And while he's digesting that meat, and he is able to digest meat very quickly, it makes him quite hot. So, and it's a hot day today. It's about 84, 85 degrees. So he's found a nice shady spot. I think he's gone down to the waterhole to have a drink, and then he's got too lazy on his way back and decided to have a rest halfway. So Antonio is wondering, what do leopards eat? Well, they've got a very varied diet, and that's what makes them such an amazingly successful big cat. Normally, their favorite food is large to medium-sized antelope. So animals the size of sort of if you take them from your deer, which obviously they're not the same, but as big as a white-tailed deer, maybe as big as a female elk when they catch something big, but normally a bit smaller, like pronghorns and white-tailed deer. And he's able to lift about his body weight into the tree. And his body weight, a big male like this, is just under 200 pounds. So he can lift a bit more than his body weight into a tree. Isn't that incredible? Amazingly strong animals. A female leopard weighs just over about 100 pounds. Mason is wondering how fast can a leopard run, even though it doesn't look like he's going anywhere fast at the moment, Mason. He's very, very quick. They can do an incredible burst of speed, and that burst of speed is equates to about 24 meters per second, and they can do that for about 10 meters. So I'm going to try and work that out in miles for you guys so you understand how fast that is. So it's about 55 miles an hour. And the amazing thing about that is he goes from 0 to 55 in less than a second. So much faster than your fastest sports car can speed up, a leopard can. So a leopard's got these wonderful, beautiful spots that are called rosettes. Because a lot of them are not just solid spots. You see they're black and a slightly sort of orangey color on the body. And John's wondering why they have these rosettes. John, it's to help them camouflage themselves. If they go lie in a thick area, they disappear. So those spots help break up their outline and makes it easier for them to catch their prey. Oh, very hot boy. So Dominique's wondering how many different species of leopard are there. In Africa, there is only one, and we are looking at them. So in different areas, you have different color variations or different sizes. Now, sizes in leopard all depends on what they eat. Here we have very big leopards because they eat lots of impala and kudu and warthogs and all sorts of things like that. But in a place like the Western Cape in South Africa, where there's not lots of big things to eat, they're much smaller because they eat rats and birds and eggs and insects and things like that. And that's, again, what makes them so adaptable. They can live in deserts, they can live in forests, they can live in grassland, and they can live in savannas. And you can find them on the beach or high in the mountains. So Antonio is wondering why this leopard's breathing so hard, and we mentioned a few moments ago, it's because he's got a very full belly and it's hot, so he's busy digesting his meal. Think about it, if you eat a very big meal, don't you always feel a little bit hot afterwards if you've eaten too much? And that's your stomach working to break down that food. So we saw that kudu carcass, what was left of it, in the tree. And as I mentioned, the leopard put that in the tree. So Cheyenne, yes, they do climb trees. They like to carry their food up the trees to protect it from hyenas, so hyenas can't steal it from them. Now, Evelyn is wondering, do they feed their own babies? The mommies do, so the females will suckle the babies till they're about 3 months old, so they live off milk. but then from about 3 months, they're already eating meat, and the mom will feed them till they get big enough to feed themselves. The males don't have anything to do with the feeding of the babies, only the mommies do. So we're going to sit here a little bit longer with this big male leopard. While we do that, James has got another one of Africa's incredible creatures.
There is a buffalo, everybody. One of our very special animals here. That's a particularly tired version of a buffalo, as you can see. He's just shut his eyes and he's resting on his big horns. And I know that most of the herbivores out where you live have got antlers, which are different from horns. These horns, if they break off, they won't grow back again, and they're much harder than antlers. And a buffalo is very different, of course, from the North American buffalo. You've got buffalo there, which we call bison, and a bison is, well, I suppose it's a relative of this buffalo, but it is very different indeed. And we don't get bison here, we have buffalo here, and they are what we call a sort of ecological equivalent. So they play the same role in the ecosystem out here that the buffalo you have in your ecosystem play there. Now, there are 3 of them here, and buffalo like to lie in the water because they get very hot. And so they lie in the water, they can have a drink when they want to, they can get nice and cool. And Antonio, as we look at their horns, which are used for fighting, so they run at each other and bash each other's heads and bash their horns together and then pull them apart. And that plays very nicely into your question, which is, how strong are their horns? They are very, very, very strong, Antonio. You would struggle to break them with the heaviest hammer you've ever picked up. You would struggle to break a buffalo's horns. You can see there where they're scraped on the top, and they're scraped on the top there like that because of the fighting that they've done throughout their lives. That buffalo is probably 14 years old or so, which is very old for a buffalo. It's a bit like with the dogs and cats. They tend to get older than us humans. And Mason, you want to know what they eat. Well, can you see that that buffalo is chewing? He looks like he's eating something. Well, he's not actually eating something new. He's re-eating the grass that he ate this morning or possibly during lunchtime. So what they do, Mason, is they eat grass and then they swallow that grass. And then when their stomach is full, they've got 4 stomachs. When the first stomach is full, they lie down in a puddle like this or a pond, and then they regurgitate. So that means they vomit, actually. They vomit up the food into their mouths again, and they chew it again. Isn't that disgusting? And then they re-swallow it down into the other 3 chambers of the stomach. Now, that sounds very disgusting, but it isn't disgusting for them. That's how they do it. That's how your bison do it. It's how moose do it, and deer do it, and all the antelope that we get out here, and all the gazelles that we get out here. Most of the herbivores are what we call ruminants, and that means they do exactly what that buffalo is doing there. He eats his grass till the first stomach is full, and then he has to sit somewhere in the shade or in the water, and he vomits it up again, re-chews it, and swallows it into the second, third, and fourth stomachs. Look, Brian, just above our first buffalo that's fast asleep, there's a starling. You see there? Look at the amazing colors. Look at those beautiful colors. That's called a Burchell starling. And while we look at that glorious bird, Olivia, you're interested in how many babies a buffalo can have. Well, a buffalo can only have 1 baby at a time. I think there have been 1 or 2 records of them having twins, but no more than that. And that's probably only 1 in every 1,000 buffalo or so will have twins. All right, all of you from Miss Cummings' class at Glenwood Elementary School, it's been been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I hope that we'll talk to you again. I hope you've learned something. Oh, lots of flies around here. I hope you've learned something and that you've enjoyed your little African safari with us, and we hope that one day, especially, that you'll be able to come out here and breathe in the great African air and feel the African sun on your face for yourself one day. Until then, we'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye. Right, let us go across to Brent. Everyone else who's still with us, Brent is with the magnificent male leopard Tingana, the Prince of Juma.
So he's up and mobile. I think he's probably just going to find another piece of shade. I don't know if he's going to head back to that carcass. But we'll stick with him while he's up. If he does go for a snooze, I think we'll leave him be, see what other creatures we can find, and then come back when it's a bit cooler. Let's just watch and see what he does. I think he's going to lie down right in that thicket where it's nice and shady. I think his little patch of sand he was lying in got a bit hot. Almost looks like he's too hot to make up his mind. Sorry, I just got to be on the radio quickly. Ah, James has got it for me. Let's just try and move with a tiny bit. So guys, just going to be on the game drive for a second. Taxi, he's mobile now from the mighty back towards those trees. So is he going to head back towards the remnants of that kudu carcass? I think it's still a bit hot for him to climb up and feed, but he might. So I seem to be having a bit of a problem with this car at the moment. There we go. Monty in Virginia is asking, is it true that they eat their prey alive? Sometimes, Monty, if it's small enough, they might, but if it's a big prey species, there he goes. Now, you can see how well that camouflage works as he moves behind that fallen down jackal berry. Look to the left, there he is. Look how those spots just blend into the bush. So, Monty, with smaller prey species, they will sometimes eat them alive, but with bigger prey species, they'll suffocate them or use a cranial bite. Oh, looks like he's found a spot to lie down. Okay, so let's loop in around, see if we can get a nice view of him. He's gone into some thicker stuff. Let's try to go around behind. Okay, see, it's amazing when they lie down, they just vanish. Tim is wondering, can we compare leopard spots to fingerprints? Most definitely, Tim, and each leopard has a very unique spot pattern. The easiest way to use that spot pattern for identification purposes... Oh, thorns, watch out, Dave. Oh, that is a buffalo thorn, very hooked, very sharp thorns. Do not want to tangle with that. You okay, past you?
Yep, go on.
And is the line of spots above his lip. Now that is the best identifying feature, because you don't have to start looking at all the different spots all over, and you focus just on that last line above the whiskers. I'll show you that a bit later once we get back into position, but while we keep moving and trying to get a nice view of this big boy, let's jump back on board with James.
A special bird, everybody, the African Harrier Hawk, or gymnogene. And a real joy to see it here. We're actually quite a distance from it, probably about 100 meters or 300 feet. But Bryan, because it is his birthday, is using the very new camera that we have. And it has a super zoom function, and therefore you can see the great gymnogene in glorious detail. And you can see the colors of his face there, which are normally sort of bright yellow, and sometimes they go red when the bird is either breeding. Well, that was the original thought, but I think it's when the bird experiences any kind of change of emotion or change of emotional state, that yellow face goes red. That's a really nice picture of him. And he's sitting in a dead tree, of course, because his big strategy, his big sort of diet is, or his main diet is nestling birds. And nestling birds within tree holes are a particular favorite of his. And they're a particular favorite because he is able to get into them where other birds are normally not. And he's able to do that, of course, because he has his most famous feature, is his double-jointed intertarsus. Say that after a big night out. Double-jointed intertarsus. That's basically the ankle joint, or it looks like a knee joint, but it is actually the ankle joint on his legs, bends both ways. It's a bit like you having a knee that you're able to bend forwards as well as backwards. Now, as we know, most animals, in fact just about all animals, if you try and bend their joints more than 180 degrees, or more than sort of, I don't know, say 110 degrees, you'll break them. And that bird has the ability to bend his legs both ways, his knee joint both ways. And in so doing, he's able to reach into the tree holes where nesting birds like parrots or barbets or sparrows, all those sorts of hole nesting birds, even those rollers. So wherever those birds are, he's able to sit. Now you can see apparently on his screen that his face is changing from that reddish hue that it had to yellow. And so, it has changed completely to pale yellow now. That is amazing. I'm just going to quickly, while you look at him, everybody, he is rather a fascinating fellow. I'm just going to quickly consult the bird app. Those grey go-away birds going quack, quack, quack. They've seen him and they are alarm calling at him, and I wonder if his red face hasn't got something to do with that. I'm just going to see if I can find out quickly. Gymnogene. And there's a very peaceful atmosphere at the moment. There's not much noise. I'm just typing in here. Sorry, I'm just quickly going to try and see if I can't find precisely why his face changes color. It's proving quite difficult to find. There, it's gone red again. Now you can see his face has gone red. It is quite amazing. Here we go, I've got him. All right, here we go. Breeding, blah, blah, blah. Here we go. Facial skin flushes pink or reddish during social interactions, especially during breeding season. Well, he's not having a social interaction. He ain't breeding with nothing unless he's particularly confused and attracted by a fairly odd or large-looking grey go-away bird in the distance. So you see, I don't buy that. I'm really not sure that is the case. So I'm just going to go down and see if I can't see any further explanations. And Valeria, I agree with you. It is fascinating. You're saying you've never seen that facial change in color before. And I have seen it a few times, and that's why I'm so confused as to, well, not confused, I just don't buy that it's because of breeding. You know, you can see it changing again, and you can also hear the odd bird alarm calling. And what I think it is that every time he's in some kind of heightened emotional state, be it from being worried about food, or, yes, certainly breeding would do that, and perhaps the alarm calling of other birds might sort of make him a little bit more anxious. I think that's when his face is likely to go red. And I say him, I mean, it's just as likely a her. And James Richard, you say you're extremely glad the super zoom is back in action. So am I. We are both very glad, Bryan and I. We had an amazing sighting with this while that you were looking at the leopard of a butterfly, a full frame yellow pansy. And he was so beautifully disguised, even though we had him full frame, it was almost impossible to see him in the frame. And we wouldn't be able to do that, of course, without that super zoom. Yeah, no, I can find nothing further other than they do flush red when they are breeding. So we'll have to keep investigating that one. Hello, wee Gracie in Ohio. You say happy birthday to Bryan. You sang for him. Thank you, Gracie.
Thank you, Gracie.
That's Bryan saying thank you. And you say I should sing for him. Well, I have done already, Gracie, but I will do it again at the end of the drive. We'll sing happy birthday together to Bryan. You want to know if he's had ice cream and cake? Not yet, but Rebecca, who's directing this evening, has made all sorts of special things for Bryan's 30th birthday. We'll be having some cake. I'm not sure if there's any ice cream involved. There's a special drink that she's made, and we're all going to have a little party where we're going to dress up, Gracie, and I know you like dress-up parties. And Bryan, we have to go as our favourite conspiracy theory, and I'll get your mum to explain what that means to you. But Bryan loves a good conspiracy theory, everyone. So I'm going as a chemtrail. Bryan, do you want to explain what a chemtrail is?
Well, chemtrail is chemicals sprayed into the sky.
There we go. I'm going as one of those, Gracie. I'm going to wrap cotton wool around my head. Okay, before that, Gymnogene gets hit on the head by those starlings. We're going to head off to Cheetah Plains and see what we can find there. We're still on Djuma at the moment, but we're going to Cheetah Plains, and while we do that, let's head back to that lovely Prince of Djuma, Tingana the leopard.
So welcome back. As you can see, he's just found a nice different shady spot to rest up in, and we've managed to get into a position where we can see him quite nicely now. Fortunately, there's one little stick in the way, but we were chatting about spot patterns and how they are like individual fingerprints, and it's the top line of spots above his last set of whiskers. Oh, getting annoyed with the biting flies. And you can see big adult male leopards have that dewlap that hangs underneath. So, as I say, talking about that flap of skin hanging under his neck is one of the signifying features of an adult male leopard, and Jackson was wondering whether he's fully grown. Jackson, not only is he fully grown, but he's in his prime at the moment. So, beautiful specimen. He weighs just under 200 pounds. And he's capable of carrying something of over 200 pounds up a tree. So yeah, if we have a look here, Dave, so we're talking about that spot pattern. So there's his last line of whiskers, and it's this here. So it's actually a 3. You see there's 1, 2, and then quite a big one there. So he's a 4-3 is Mr. T. And the other side is a 4. So there's the last line of whiskers. And there we go. Of course, you can always look for scars. And he does have, it's not as visible from the side as when he turns his head the other way. See if we can, there we go. But he's got some distinctive scar. He's got one distinctive scar on the right side of his face, just below his nose. We'll have to wait for him to turn so we can see it properly. So you can just make it out there. You can see there's a patch of bare skin above that last line of whiskers, and cut a scar that goes sort of up towards his eyes. So scars and rips in the ears can also be identifying features, but obviously these can change over a leopard's life. So that's why that top line of spots above the last line of whiskers is the most reliable way of identifying a leopard. So a leopard's claws can extend about 5-6 centimeters, maybe a bit longer, 7 centimeters on a big, 7 to 10 on a big one. And Amalia is wondering about that. And so do they compare to a lion's claws? Obviously a lion being a much bigger animal, its claws are much bigger, more robust. Leopards are slightly more hooked, more sharpened, and obviously for climbing trees, that's a very big benefit. So when a lot of predators die out in the African bush, you never really find the carcass, and John's wondering what happens. So John, they literally just disappear. Hyenas might eat him, vultures will eat him, even possible lions might eat him. So it's very, very rare that we actually find the carcass of any of the predators. So normally they just get dispersed by the scavengers. So I don't think he's going to move. He's closed his eyes in for the snooze. So there's quite some other vehicles on their way here. So we're going to come back maybe a little bit later, and hopefully he might be up in the tree having a feed when it's a bit cooler. Bye-bye, Mr. T. Enjoy your snooze. So while we move out of here, Naomi in Pretoria, hi Naomi, would like to know, which two animals do I have the most respect for? I would think it all depends, but I would say in terms of a situation potentially going very bad very quickly, I would say the one animal you really have to have a lot of respect for is elephants. And the other animal, slightly different, but because I spend a lot of time fishing, I have a lot of respect for, is the Nile crocodile. Orbs, make your way straight in. I'm moving out. Okay, we're going to get back up to the road. I think I feel like some Ellies in my life, so we're going to go check around for elephants. So it's still really warm, so I think we might have a peruse of different water holes, see if they might not be bringing those ellies in. So we're moving sort of towards the end of summer, and we've had a few mornings that have lent towards the beginning of the winter months. But today is definitely sort of one of those late summer afternoons when it gets hot and you're starting to get this sort of white out effect of this dust coming through. As we go into winter, it's not going to be as apparent because obviously the days are getting shorter, but for the moment, this harsh sun and lots of dust in the air. Good news is, it makes for wonderful, wonderful sunsets. So Joyce in New Hampshire is planning on coming out to South Africa and would wonder what season would be best. Now, Joyce, it all depends on what you want to see. And the flowers and the birds are beautiful in the summer, and of course the animals are always here. But for me, my favorite time of the year is the end of the dry season. It's the best time to view predators. So end of October, beginning of November, just before the first rains. And a lot of animals are concentrated on the remaining water holes, so the predators are much easier to find. It's also very dry, so you can see big distances. So for high action game viewing, my personal favorite time of the year is the end of October. And let's head off to the west and then loop down back towards the waterhole, see if we can catch any eddies, maybe moving to or coming from the Vuyatela area. The one thing that's really frustrating about these hot, still afternoons like this is the amount of biting flies that are about. And I think I might be a full pint of blood short by the end of the safari, or till the sun goes down at least. Of course, they are quite easy to counter by wearing long pants, but I'd much rather be a little bit cooler and deal with a few bites than be very hot. Our camera department, not so tough. They all wear long pants. Safety first, says Dave. So, Aaron, who's in the land of the long white cloud, is wondering, is there an update about Birmingham boys? As far as I know, there are 2 on Buffalo's Hook and 1 on Chitwa, and I'm not sure where the rest are. Those are the only 3 that were found this morning. Some ellie tracks, but those look a bit old. So Cecilia is wondering, would vultures ever steal a kill from a tree? It's very unlikely. Hooded vultures will sometimes, being the smallest ones, be able to feed off a kill in a tree. But the one bird that does steal kills from a tree is the Battalier eagle. And they are quite adept at stealing kills, but only little bits of remnants, nothing that's too heavy. but they are experts at spotting those kills in trees. I thought I saw something in a tree in the distance, but just trying to block the light out. No, false alarm. Oh, hello. We have a canoe trotting across in front of us. Seems to be on a mission. Might be looking for ladies. A male wildebeest. Where is he going? Oh, he's not stopping for us today. He disappears into the bush. He's got a plan, somewhere to be. It is the wildebeest rutting season is about to start, so it's when males will defend territories that are filled, or they hope to fill, with ladies. The ladies will move between different males' territories, ensuring that they get a bit of genetic variety. Now remember, you can ask us questions about the African bush if you've been wondering anything, or pondering, or about anything we might see specifically on the safari. And you can do that by popping me an email on questions@wildearth.tv, or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. James and Bryan, the birthday boy Joubert, are now on Cheetah Plains. Let's go see what they're up to.
Yay! We're on Cheetah Plains, everybody, and well, we're not in the plains yet. We're in the woodland of Cheetah Plains at the moment, the northern sections thereof. I've just picked a tree. I would love to know if anybody knows what tree this is. I give you the caveat that I don't know what this tree is. I've just found a whole forest full of them, and I have no idea what it is. So any of our plant experts, regular plant expert viewers, have a look, see what you think it is. I've got no idea. I suppose I should have stopped next to the actual tree so that you can see it in its full glory. It's not a very pretty thing. It's kind of a scraggly bush. But there was a whole big stand of them, lots of them there. Now, while we're driving along, Donna in North Carolina, you sent through some lovely information on the African Harrier Hawk, or the gymnogene, and amongst that information was the fact that it has an unfeathered face, unlike many hawks, and that's to help it when it has to stick its face into sort of tree holes to fetch out the young birds that it eats. Yes, I can imagine that is the case. And you say any kind of disturbance causes that face to change color, and that would certainly seem to be the case, Donna. I think I'm summarizing a very extensive. Thank you for your extensive information that you sent through on the African Harrier Hawk, or gymnogene. Now, Bryan, here is a tree we do not see very often, that green one there. You'll see it. Yes, that's it. Very nice. That is a fig tree, everybody. Not particularly interesting, but that it is not found very often. And this one, if I'm not mistaken, is a freestanding Ficus stillmanii, which is a common strangler fig, but I think that whatever it strangled is now long deceased, and it seems to be standing entirely of its own accord, with its fluted stem. That's what that is, which eventually become roots. Well, the roots actually eventually become the stem. Now, of course, the most interesting thing about fig trees, and I've told some of you this before, others of you who might be new viewers will not have heard this. Every fig tree in the world, as far as I'm aware, is pollinated by a wasp. And a unique wasp to each fig tree species. So a different kind of wasp species to every different fig species. What the fig is a fruit. You've all seen a fig as a fruit. It has a little entry to it, and it's unique. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's the only sort of family of trees that has this adaptation, where the flower is actually inside the fruit. And what happens is a male wasp flies in to, no, a female wasp flies into the fig, and as she flies in, I'm just trying to, waiting to think if I've got the sexes of the wasps correct. No, I don't. It's the male. It's the male who flies in. He flies in, and as he flies in, the flower on top of the fig deposits pollen on his back. And he will then find a female inside. She is flightless. She never leaves the fig into which she's born. He mates with her. She then lays her eggs and she dies. He's still inside that fig. He then flies out again and goes to another fig. And as he flies into the new fig, of course, that pollen that is on his back gets deposited into the flowers of the new fig, and so the pollination of that fig takes place. And then the fruit will close up and form the fleshy fruit that we know. And that's how they sort of live with each other. And you can't, the entrance hole in each of those fruits is completely unique to the wasp species that goes in. So no other insect can access that hole. Only the uniquely shaped wasp species of those specific figs can get into the figs that they are supposed to. That, in a garbled way, is a very interesting fig story, I think. We're going to go past 3 in a row pan, trifecta pan, Brian. That's what it's called?
The triplets.
Triplet pan. And Naomi, I love these sorts of things, requests not leopards or lions or elephants or buffaloes. You want to see some spear grass, if I'm hearing you correctly, Naomi. I actually have seen quite a lot around Cheetah Plains, so with any luck I will be able to show you some spear grass. Diheteropogon contortus. I always like to say that. Makes me sound very clever, don't you think, Brian? Very. Diheteropogon contortus. There is two buffalo. There are 2 buffalo, not there is. Now there we have 2 buffalo, 2 Cheetah Plains buffalo bulls, who I suspect have been sleeping very comfortably in 3 in a row trifecta pan. And Paddy, while we look at those beefies, you want to know what the African Harrier Hawk is called in Shangaan? I don't know, but I'm going to find out for you. Stand by 1 second. I will find him for you, Paddy. I think the Roberts Bird app will probably be able to tell me. They're normally really good sort of stuff. Paddy, if you can't find it, have you looked under Shitsonga? That's the name. Dutch, Portuguese, French, German, Indian, alternative English. Nothing, I'm afraid, on Tsonga. Sorry about that. I tell you what, I'm going to ask you to ask Brent. Brent is in radio contact, of course, with Taxon and Aubrey, who are 2 Shangaan men, and they are both guiding at the moment at Vuyatela. They will know what an African Harrier Hawk is. I feel like I know it, but that I've heard it, but I can't remember what it is, Paddy. So let's ask Brent. He's back on Juma, and when you link back to him, let's get him to find out from Aubrey and Taxon what it is in Shangaan. Lovely question, that. Thank you for it. I really do enjoy the nature of our viewers, and especially the stuff about local culture and local people and local languages, which are so important to our cultural heritage in this country. A rich cultural heritage, possibly as rich as our natural heritage. So the first thing we'll do is see what's going on here at Triplet Pan, and then we'll head down towards the clearings in the south of the reserve. Brian and I, the reason we have a stupid deal, Brian and I, and that is that we may never refer to these 3 pans here by anything, by the same thing twice. So we'll have trifecta pan, 3 pan plates, 3 in a row pan, triple water holes. So Rebecca says 3 patty pans. Rebecca, that's ridiculous. Another buffalo with a tiny baby, tiny baby. Look, that's just been born. That's just been born. Oh, wow. It's a brand new little buffalo. What it's doing in the water, I have no idea. You can still see the umbilical cord sticking out the bottom. It can hardly walk. Oh, that's too special. That's been born now. Oh, that's too sweet. She's got out of the water, I think, because she feels a bit vulnerable. And so she's just moved her calf behind those bushes where we can't see it. And for the next 3 or 4 hours, extremely vulnerable, just while the neurons start to fire and help those young muscles support the weight and kind of learn how to walk and run. Then hopefully she'll re-find the herd. So what's happened here is that she's left the herd to give birth. Oh, that is too sweet. She's left the herd to give birth, and she'll now try and find them again. It can hardly walk. And so we often hear, of course, that buffalo are what we call aseasonal breeders, that they don't breed like the antelope do over the peak of the rainy season. They can breed at any time of year, and here is evidence of that. There is a peak during the wet season, and this does seem like a particularly strange time for a buffalo cow to be giving birth. How very special. You can just probably hear the flies buzzing, otherwise everything is quiet. As that little buffalo takes its very first steps in what can be a fairly cruel world out here for a young herbivore, or a young anything really. So lucky. I don't want to move and give them and startle them. And obviously the question is here, and it's coming through from the final controllers, do we think that that little calf was born in the mud? The answer is no, I don't think so. I think it would have drowned. But what it was doing in the mud then, I don't know. Because, of course, they're not, they have to stand up. They take a little while to stand up. Probably a bit like a zebra, about half an hour or so. So maybe born, I don't know, maybe born around the middle of the day, and it was very hot, so she took him in there, him or her, the little calf. Can't tell at this stage. Not sure. So I definitely don't think born in the water. And the final control thinks that the little baby buffalo looks like Falcor from the Never-Ending Story. If you haven't seen that film, well, you haven't lived really. But if you have, you'll appreciate the level of insanity we're dealing with in the final control. That is a small bovid. Falcor was a great big white dragon. Do you see any similarity at all, Bryan? You do? Bryan's also... Debatable. Bryan is the ultimate fence sitter, of course. What's your favorite system?
Potentially, maybe.
Potentially, maybe. And thank you to all of you for wishing the little buffalo good luck. I'm going to leave it going through the bush there. Don't want to chase it through there in its young and fragile state. The big thing is going to be for that cow to catch up with the herd now so that she can seek the protection of the rest of the herd. So that's very important for her. I do see lots of buffalo tracks around here. They look to be all bulls though. So I don't know where the rest of the herd is gone. Maybe we'll find it in the clearings a little bit around the corner. And Christine, you say a new buffalo for Brian's birthday. I don't recall you asking for a buffalo, Brian.
Yeah, but nice surprise.
But nice surprise. Those are the best kind of gifts, aren't they? Mm-hmm. How wonderful. That's the first of the Narupans.
First of the three ladies.
First of the three sister ladies, yes. Oh. Look at this. Very, very confiding hammerkops. Now, hammerkop is an Afrikaans word, which of course means hammerhead. But as far as I understand, they're all called hammerkops. They're never called hammerheads, despite the Afrikaans nature of their names. And they're rather splendid birds, and they'll be looking for frogs and fish. They're mainly frog specialists, but so few frogs have been around this year that they've had to make do with whatever else they can find. They'll eat crabs as well. What is it caught there, Brian? Did you see? No, I didn't see. I'm just going to quickly get an update on the radio, everybody, while Brian shows you the hammerkops. We're now on Cheetah Plains, of course. Peter, hi, James from WildEarth here. Can I have an update in the east this afternoon? Okay, copy, thanks very much. Okay, copy, I'll go and have a look there, thank you. So that was just the update from Peter from Nkoro. Some of you will be very glad to know that Mvula, the 13-year-old male leopard, my favorite, is on Nkoro, looking in good health. And he's my favorite because he's not the biggest male that we have here, but like me, Brian, and he's carved out a niche for himself. He's sired youngsters, and he's done very well. There we go. And apparently the Shangaan word for an African Harrier Hawk is agama. I'm going to ask Rebecca to spell that for me. Rebecca? Didn't get the spelling. Okay. So it's agama or something like that. I think that's probably, I don't know how to spell that, so it's agama. And the word, of course, for these birds is mangonzwana, and it's one of the onomatopoeic words, which, of course, many of the birds are named onomatopoeically by the Shangaan people. Let's go across to Brent Leo Smith, who found that out for us. He's got an elephant.
So one of my favorite creatures to spend time with, a nice big adult elephant bull. He's just on the western edge of the quarantine clearings, enjoying some of that grass. Haven't been able to see whether he's in must or yet. But with the amount of very big bulls around that are, it is quite possible. The gentle giants. to move around, get a better view of him. We're just going to stop a little bit far away. We want him, if he wants to come close, to come to us rather than us forcing ourselves into his space. No, big boy. Dave, quickly, sorry, away from the elephant for a second, come out. And they're about there, I think. Slow down. There. Now, normally they're too difficult to see, but there's a spider hunting wasp. Beautiful metallic colors on him. So they will fly around hunting for spiders and different things at the moment. It seems to be enjoying those grass seeds, but normally they'll lay their eggs in different insects or arachnids, and then their babies will hatch and have a nice free meal. Oh, there's another one. You can see how fast they normally fly. So that one I just noticed is flying a little bit slow, so we'll take advantage. We don't often get to see them. And there we go. So let's leave the wasp. Ellie's come a little bit closer to us. Hello, big boy. Youngish Ellie, probably early 30s. But definitely sexually mature and would challenge for mating rights. I don't think he's in must. Can't smell any must at the moment. We are slightly downwind, or there's almost no wind to speak of, but there's a slight breeze blowing from him towards us. And I can't smell anything. Also see he's not secreting too much out of those glands, which they quite often do a lot of when they're in must, and the hormones are raging. Hey, mister. I mean, it's a massive body to feed. So they're constantly eating. They'll eat for the majority of day and night. Upward of 250 kilograms of vegetable matter consumed in a day. There's always something lovely and peaceful about sitting with an Ellie bull. Just watching him go about his business. Hello. He's going to walk a little bit closer to us as he continues to feed. He might, as he goes past us, give us a head shake just to remind us that he's a very big, strong animal. And this guy looks so relaxed at the moment in our presence, so he might not even do that. So we're going to sit out here, spend some more time with this big Ellie bull. But let's go see how the story's unfolding with James and the buffalo calf.
So we have found the herd of buffalo, everybody, quite by chance. Didn't mean to. We just came along a road called Owl's Nest Road, and we found a herd of buffalo. And we're probably about, I'd say less than a mile from where we left the cow and the calf. So with any luck, they'll catch up with this herd fairly soon, and the little one will be afforded the protection of those buffalo over there. Did you like the way I did that, Bryan?
I did.
Yes. So it's not a big herd, it's quite a small herd by sort of Kruger standards, but certainly will provide a lot of protection for a little calf. That calf is so vulnerable now. If it was to come across, if that cow came across a lion or a hyena or even a male leopard, maybe even a female leopard, it would be pretty easy to dispatch. Very nice, Bryan. We're often asked about those white patches underneath the eyes, and they're of course the soft parts of the skin, and so the ticks go there, and then the oxpeckers eat the ticks off, and the hair gets rubbed off from underneath the eyes there, which of course we can now see because we have this super zoom. I wish that thing would keep its head still, don't you, Bryan? They know when you're zooming in on them. So I'd say probably about maximum of 100 in this herd, which is a pretty small herd. I mean, they can get up to 1,000. And Brent Leo Smith yesterday informed us all that he had seen the largest herd of buffalo ever seen. And apparently that was 5,253 strong, or something like that. It was over 5,000, and he happened to be in Botswana when it was found. So a very small herd, this, by comparison to some others. You can just hear them grazing. All right, Brenty's still with his elephant. Let's go across to him. We'll continue into the plains of Cheetah.
So he came up within about a meter of my door, and then he just went and he moved some dead branches away to get to that nice green grass he's got at the moment. So from the end of the car, he's probably 3 foot or 4 foot, and he is an incredibly big boy. You can see wonderful patterns in their skin, incredibly thick skin, and almost impervious to most thorns and things out here in the bush. And you can see his toenails even. That's his back foot, the smaller. The two back feet, the smaller of the two. Slightly different shape. Of course, the front foot's got to carry that massive head and neck. So they're a bit bigger and they're slightly differently shaped, and we'll try to show them to you when he moves a bit further. Unfortunately, he's too close right now. Hey, mister. But a really wonderful, relaxed bull. And again, this is where it's very important to rather stop a little distance and let them move into the space you're in rather than to try to put yourself in their space. So in these situations, you can see he's so relaxed, he's even just turned his backside to us. He's still the same distance away, but he's just turned around and showing us his rear end. But very, very relaxed boy. Hey, mister. Now, he might move some of these sticks here. No, he's done there. Hello. Hello, big boy. It's okay. Yes, you're a good boy. Oh, I just got elephant snot all over me. He just breathed and flicked his his trunk, and I got snot on my neck and on my hand and on my shirt. Now, the smell this close to him is incredible. I mean, he almost smells like fresh grass. He is so close. I will try to show you. I don't know if you can see on my shirt. There are the patches of elephant snot that was flicked onto me. It's not every day you get close enough to an elephant to get a bit of snot on you. But the most important thing in these situations when we're this close to these massive animals is to just stay calm, and they are not always this aggressive, dangerous creature that they're often made out to be. And you can tell often from their body language from a long way off whether you should be going closer or not. Oh, isn't he just spectacular? So peaceful. Hey, big boy. Just gonna keep quiet for a little bit, and you can just hear the sounds of him picking grass and flapping his ears. He is about 2 feet from Dave at the moment. He's still showing no interest in the vehicle. He's just interested in the grass that's next to us. Dave's looking a little bit... No, he's okay. Dave's looking okay. So it's very important not to move the vehicle in these situations. It's just to sit as still and quiet as possible and just soak in this spectacular experience. There's no other way to describe it. It's actually for me an experience that goes beyond words, being that close to a big Eddie bull. So I'm not going to start the car yet. I'm going to wait for him to get a little bit further away. I don't want to give him a fright while he's not looking towards us. But he's in no hurry to move off. Well, Zoe has stumped me. Zoe's wondering how long the intestinal tract of an elephant might be. I'm not sure, Zoe, to be honest. I have not an idea. I assume quite long, but then you never know. They only digest about 70% of what they're able to eat. So it could be maybe just a really big tummy. I don't know. I'm going to have to do some research, or if you guys could research for me, let me know if anyone knows how long the intestinal tract of an elephant is. That'd be fascinating to know. Okay, so he's moved off a little bit, so I'm just going to move the car. But wasn't that absolutely special? Dave has got a grin from ear to ear. I've got a grin to ear, and I hope all of you guys out there are as happy as we are with that amazing experience. They're such special animals. Well, Charlie in Cleveland would like to know, is Dave still breathing? Dave, are you still breathing?
I am indeed.
He is indeed. I'm going to spend a few more minutes with this beautiful boy before I think we might go have a look at the hyena den, see if anything's happening there. I haven't been there for a while. So Valeria was wondering if anyone was going to the hyena den, and we will go have a look, see if it's active, Valeria. I haven't been there for a while, but for the moment I am just really enjoying this time with this Eddie bull, even though he blew snot onto me. See that little that he just did there? That's what happened to me. So apparently an Eddie bull's intestines can reach the length of 19 meters. 19 meters is very long. That's massive. I just think he's about 4 meters at the shoulder. So it is about 62 feet, but we must remember, humans also have an incredibly long intestinal system. And who can remember? Dave, do you remember how long a human's intestines are?
Can't say I do.
Oh, Dave. So why don't you guys, if anyone can remember how long a human's intestines are, let me know. You can do that by sending me an email on questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Well, we're going to let this gentle giant continue munching his way through the grass of quarantine and start slowly making our way towards the hyena den. So we saw how incredibly dexterous that elephant's trunk was, and Anne McGraw was wondering how many muscles are there in that elephant's trunk. She said it heard anything from 10,000 to 100,000. I've heard even over that, and it all depends on your definition of a muscle. So not just let's say there's a lot, but there's definitely around 100,000 or so. But the depending on the definition of a muscle is why some people might say 150 as opposed to 90 or whatnot. So there's also a lot of course, cartilaginous rings in there, and as well as tendons and that. So I know there is some debate on what can be called a muscle and what not, and that's what leads to the vastly different numbers of muscles in an elephant's trunk. But I would happily, comfortably say there's easily 100,000. So a big and warm Safari Live welcome to Alyssa from Berlin. Alyssa is a new viewer, so great to have you joining us on Safari and becoming part of the Safari Live family, Alyssa. Now, Alyssa is wondering about the language Afrikaans, which is spoken in South Africa. I think the only person of Afrikaans descent in our camp is Wim, the Wildebeest. And Dave, are you Afrikaans? Oh, there we go. Dave's mom's Afrikaans. She learns something new every day. So, and Alyssa's wondering why it is so similar to Dutch and German. She thought South Africa was a British colony. It was first a Dutch colony, Alyssa, for the Dutch East India Company had a refueling and, not a refueling, a re-watering and refooding station in what is now Cape Town. So a lot of the original colonial settlers that settled in that area, I think the first settlers was late 1700s, if my brain goes all the way back to high school history. And Jan van Riebeck, I think it was. So in the 1700s, 17 somethings, I can't remember what. So the first settlers before the British were Dutch, and they mostly worked for the Dutch East India Company. They set up farms to provide food for the ships on their route from around the Cape of Good Hope on their way to the Spice Islands. And was only later that the British came in. But before the British, there were also French Huguenots who were escaping from, I can't remember which church, but one of the churches, and they had different beliefs, so they also came and settled in what is now the Western Cape. Now, the British and Dutch fought quite a fierce war over the control of the spice trade, and in that, I think the Dutch lost the Cape Colony to the British, but a lot of the burghers stayed and continued, and that's why you have this there's some really fantastic little different things about the Western Cape. The French Huguenots brought winemaking, and that's why there's this incredible wine industry that surrounds Cape Town. And of course, the Dutch were great farmers, so not the wheat and cattle. So really, really interesting. South Africa is a real melting pot, but we'll discuss that a little bit later, because James has got the tallest animal living today.
We have found, everybody, a giraffe that seems to be going towards the water, where in the distance, I'm just going to stop quickly here, then we are going to have a look at this very beautiful male giraffe, but you can see a clearing across through over the little valley there, and there is a herd of buffalo drinking at a pan. That's actually a really nice picture. Well done, Brian. Oh, super zoom. And I just think one thing that is quite interesting there, I mean, it is probably slightly greener than it looks on your screen. But in the last 3 or 4 days, I have noticed a noticeable sort of, not browning, but the deep sort of verdant Irish green of the grass and the leaves has turned slightly paler. And I think that you'll find that the surface water that has turned everything green is now finished, and it's run out, and everything is starting now to feel a little bit wintry and a little bit dry, which, given the lack of rain we've had over the summer months, is going to precipitate something of a struggle during the dry season. There is our lovely male giraffe. He's a really magnificent specimen. Just going to roll down the hill so that we might view him in peace. Panic not, old friend, panic not. There we go. Mature bull. He's not that old, but he's not a youngster, and he's obviously very camera shy indeed. That's a picture of his back legs and tail. That sound is me hitting my head because I have been savaged by hundreds of flies. Very elegant legs that he has there. I'm not going to follow him through here, everyone. It doesn't look like he wants to spend too much time around the vehicle. We'll go a little bit forward and see if we can get another view of him. There he goes. Goodbye, old chap. You can see very clearly that sort of median ossicone that he's got, those calcified lumps on the front of his forehead, especially in super zoom and in silhouette. He really doesn't want to be seen. He's now hidden his face behind that knob thorn tree. You can just see his horns sticking out the top there, bald as they are. Ultimately graceful, aren't they? Now, we did hear of some leopard tracks that were in this area. We've come along here, haven't found any leopard tracks, but we're just going to keep searching. But let's go up to that clearing there, where I first saw, or second time I saw, a pair of side-striped jackals. First or second time we came through here, and we'll just have a look at those buffalo. We won't spend too long with them. We have spent quite a lot of time with buffalo this afternoon, I feel. And this will be the herd. It's actually a different herd from the one that we found earlier, but I'm sure it's kind of a splinter off that herd that we found earlier, the herd to which that cow and her new calf will be heading. There are a couple of little ones in this herd as well, spread very widely over the plains, indicating that they are not worried. There we go. It's a really stunning picture, this, I think. Let's have a look at the buffalo, and we'll scan the clearings for those canids, the jackals. I'm just going to scan the grass for the ears. That's normally what you'll see, is just the ears of the jackal sticking up as they rest, normally under a bush. Isn't that a wonderful picture? I just really love the fact that it's so varied from Djuma. There's such a nice variation of habitat now that we have with all of our traversing. And they're all, as you can see, grazing in a similar direction. Now that will be a function of what we call the pathfinders. So while Bryan shows you the sunset, which he says is going to be a bit lame this evening because it is behind the cloud, I will explain that the herd of buffalo here is led by a female, or by a number of females called the pathfinders, and that's them that Bryan's showing you now. They're in front of the herd deciding on which direction to go. And apparently it is a completely sort of democratic way of doing things. So no female gets to decide on her own. And there you can hear a pearl-spotted owl. Another little baby. And you can see there that one's horns are just starting to erupt, which I think happens as early as 5 months. So that one is about 5 months old, maybe a little bit younger, maybe 4 months. And so much larger than the tiny little thing we saw earlier. And everything is very peaceful here. I know I do say this often, but you know, we get these Twitter names that are just so wonderfully amusing. And we've got a question here from Tony Old Boy Fish. Tony, because I'm certainly of the opinion, Tony, that animals are able to sense things that we can't. Whether they are able to sense something watching them or not, I don't know. I mean, a wonderful example of it is when you go in, if you're tracking a predator of some kind, you go into an area, and if the predator is close, you find that the birds have either stopped calling or there's a kind of hush about the place. Now, you felt that, I'm sure, you felt that tingling on the back of your neck when you feel like you're being watched. Now, given that we as human beings are able to feel that, I can only imagine that animals which are out here, which are much more likely to be so attacked by a predator, I can only think that they are much more likely to be able to sense things in that fashion than we are. So, Tony Old Boy Fish, TOBF, I think that you'll find that they can sense that they're being watched. I don't think they can sense that they're being filmed at all, but absolutely I'm sure that there is an element of sixth sense about when they're being watched or not. Isn't that too sweet? You can see that little thing is already chewing the cud. Madison, you're distressed a little, I think, about how or why it is that the cow that we saw giving birth to a calf much smaller than that one withdrew from the herd. Madison, I don't think it's a function of the cow moving away from the herd so much as the cow being unable to move because she goes into labor and the herd then moving away from her. I think that's what you'll find happens. And that, of course, is why she's on her own, why she will try and catch up as soon as she can. So when she goes into labor and she starts to give birth, the rest of the herd, unlike an elephant herd, which will surround the cow giving birth and almost celebrate, they'll squeal and make a noise and really celebrate the birth. Unlike that, the buffalo will just move away from any member of the herd that is unable to keep up. It's interesting, I'm just reading a book that was lent to me by Louise called I think it's called The Bonobo and the Atheist. And basically it's all about, I've only just got into it, but it's about morality, and it's about the emotional connection that animals have and the fact that they do show an element of sympathy to each other. And the closer you get to us as primates, or as human primates, so it is the closer that the emotions will mirror our own. And so it's difficult to find too much emotional sympathy with something like these buffalo. But with elephants, which seem to have, I hesitate to use the word intelligence, but they seem to have a more emotional or human emotional outpouring, human emotional intelligence, if you like, or emotional quotient. So they have this very obvious sense of emotional attachment to each other, and they show sympathy and they show care and they show kind of an egalitarian way about them, which the primates like us also do. Bryan, let's move. The flies are becoming untenable in this particular region. Now apparently you are losing my audio when I turn my head to the right. What I'm going to do, I think, is just attach this to my lip. What do you think, Bryan?
Your bottom lip.
There we go. You should be able to hear me perfectly now.
100%.
Is the sound good now?
It's a good look for you.
Okay, that's excellent. Is that fine?
Yeah, I like that.
It is excruciatingly painful, I cannot tell a lie.
It looks good though.
And it will probably result in a very swollen lip if I keep it on like this.
I like it.
Sorry about that, everybody. I think I'm moving my head a bit much today. Okay, let's carry on. Buffalo over there, sunset over there, moon coming up behind us. I want to show you that too. Behold the moon. Now watch Bryan super zoom in on it, and if you look very carefully you'll be able to see the American flag flittering there. And I say that purposely on Bryan's birthday, of course, because one of Bryan's favourite conspiracy theories, Bryan, is...
No one's been to the moon.
There we go. And Sam made mention of the rabbit in the moon, and I think the rabbit in the moon is a wonderful way of describing that. And appropriately this year, Earth Day, which is on Friday, is on the same day as the full moon. So in 2 days' time, when you're planting your tree or flower or something indigenous around where you live, look up at the moon, full, shining down on us, the rabbit smiling. Very nice, Bryan.
Thank you.
Poetic almost. Birthday poetic.
I try.
You do. Very good job. Okay. Let's head on. I'm going to talk like this now when I turn my head to the left. Finally, we're going to actually see the plains. We've seen the clearings behind us where we found that giraffe, and we're now going to go down into the big clearings. I think your birthday sunset's pretty good. All right, now Susan in New York. While we look at this gorgeous sunset, it's probably worth actually having a stop for. How's that, Brian? Just trying to get the aerial out of your way there. Susan, you're interested in the difference between a king cheetah and an African cheetah, and you want to know, are they the same or are they different? Susan, they're actually different. They're actually the same species. Exactly the same species. And the only difference is that the king cheetah is what we call semi-melanistic. That means that it is not quite melanistic. Melanistic means black. So like a panther or a black leopard is a melanistic form of a leopard. A king cheetah is a sort of semi-melanistic version of the African cheetah, and it's exactly the same species. All that it happens is that the amount of melanin it has is much higher than it is in a normal cheetah, and so the spots join up to make these longitudinal stripes that run along the length of the cheetah's back. And that's basically what a king cheetah is. Thank you for that, Susan. Oh, look. There is a wildebeest coming for a drink at Cheetah Plains Pan, just sticking his head around from behind that bush. And while the wildebeest comes down to have a drink with his oxpecker in tow, let's head across to Brent, who's also got a picture of the sun going down.
Look at that, the Drakensberg Mountains. And that is from Dutch, the Dragons Mountains, the Drakensberg. In the distance, the boundary between the low veld and the high veld. Sun is just disappearing beyond the western horizon. There's a bit of cloud around this evening. And there we go, you can see it there. One little, quite big cloud bank, but I don't think holding any rain. And a dead knobthorn tree in the right of frame. Stunning sky this evening. So as it starts to get a bit cooler and as the sun dips further, we're going to start making our way back towards Tingana, the male leopard, to see if he's possibly not maybe going to go for a drink at the waterhole or go finish off what's left of that sub-adult kudu. And you never know what we might find on the way. So while you've been with James, we went past the hyena den. Unfortunately, no hyenas. I think it's a bit hot to have too much activity, so it might be worth trying first thing tomorrow morning. I'm just listening what's going on with Tingana. Sorry, just listening to the game drive. I'm trying to get a gap on the radio. It's a very talkative bunch this evening. Mark, I'll come give you a hand. I'm coming from the Balanites. So this is one of my favorite little drives on Juma. And there's this lovely little open patch of grass that we follow on this road. And quite often you get lots of different animals coming to graze here. So it's always a good spot to have a check. Now, the reason there's grass here, oh, wow, look at that. Let's just get into the gap. Oh, magic, 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 magic. Wow. I think that deserves the photograph. Grab some screenshots. Look at that sunset. Isn't that absolutely amazing? And that burning red orb. That's about almost 5 billion years old. Our little yellow dwarf star that we orbit. Just gonna... Oh, we can see the birds flying through as well. I'm gonna keep quiet and just enjoy this for a moment. Try imagine the smells and the taste of dust on your palate. There's nothing quite like a proper African sunset. I've seen sunsets all over the world, but for me there's something just a little bit more special about one when you're in the bush. See the Drakensberg Mountains there. So I think I was talking a little bit fast. Tony, old boy fish. It is the Drakensberg, Drakensberg, one word, Drakensberg, which basically translates to Dragon's Mountain. So, after our moment's silence for the dying day, let's go to James, who now has the tallest and biggest bird in Africa.
Well, I never, everybody. On Bryan's birthday, appearing again, an entire wobble of ostriches. Not one, not even two, but 3 ostriches there on Mala Mala. And there's 2 males there. There's a female behind them who's disinterested in the fact that they seem to be about to be having a little fight over her. So in case you're wondering why I used the term wobble, we've just apparently found out that a group of ostriches is called a wobble of ostriches, or a herd, or a pride, interestingly enough. I think pride for those birds is a ridiculous term, so I think I'm going to use the word wobble, because I quite like saying wobble. Don't you, Bryan?
Wobble.
Wobble?
Wobble.
It makes me think of the black adder when I say wobble. I'm also scanning what else might be down there in Mela Mela. Of course, this zoom is so impressive that those ostriches are most of the way to the Mala Mala main camp, about 4 kilometers from us. I'm talking absolute nonsense. They're probably about Well, they're a good 300 meters away. Hey, Brian?
Yeah.
Can you tell how far they are with the camera?
I'll tell you now. They are roughly...
Suspense, drum roll.
a good 100 meters.
100 only?
Yeah, seems like.
Yeah. Now, Cecilia, as these ostriches graze gently across the plains here, and they are grazing, well, they're browsing, I suppose. They're taking shoots, new shoots and sort of buds from the forbs, which are sort of the unidentified herbaceous plants that grow in a clearing like this. Cecilia, you're interested in how fast they can run, and that's an appropriate question as you see the beefy thigh on that female. They run at an astonishing speed, up to 70 kilometers per hour, which is roughly 50 miles per hour, about 45 miles per hour. It really is an amazing speed that a bird manages to achieve. Can you hear that? Oh, that's just the best sound. One of the best sounds of the African night. You can't hear it, the microwaves. The microphones are facing in the wrong direction. It's the call of the black-backed jackal. Ow, 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 ow. It echoes across the plains. They're not too far from here. I think we're going to be able to find them. Should we go have a look, Brian? Enough of these beefy birds. Right. They're directly behind us, so if I turn in this direction, they're over there. We're going to be heading due east now, isn't it? That's what we're doing. Due east into the moon. And the jackals, I think, at the far end of the clearing over there. So let's go all the way down here and then we'll go up that road underneath the moon. And with any luck, we will find two black-backed jackals marking their territory with a call. Such a lovely call. If you don't know what it is, it sounds slightly terrifying. But once you have understood what it is, it's fantastic. And that's much the same with many of the terrifying sounds you might hear in the night. If you don't know what they are, I think they're just up here in the clearings. I did scan this area with my binoculars, but they were unable to find the jackals. So we'll drive up here, we'll switch off, and in fact we won't. We'll take this little road that seems to have evolved. There they are. Let me just move so we can see them. Oh, that's brilliant. Have you got them, Brian? Shots, sorry. They're going behind the termite mound there. There we go. Awesome. Black-backed jackal. And there's a pair of them. I think we'll reverse back. Let me reverse into the other clearing there, Brian. James Richard, you say you were holding thumbs for the jackal. Well, thank you for doing that. You've obviously created some kind of glitch in the matrix and they have arrived. So thank you very much for that. They're coming quite close to us now. I hope they call again. That's a fantastic shot of a black-backed jackal. So they live in pairs. This will be a very solid pair. They are monogamous. And while they do breed for life, if one of them dies, which is almost inevitable given that they have such a short lifespan, probably only about 5 years, the other one will move on. They won't remain a widow or widower for too long. They've spotted something up there. Something is causing them distress. Maybe another jackal. This one you can see shaking its head, I suspect because of the flies. They're so relaxed. We're probably now from these things about 50 meters or so. That is about 160 feet. Sorry, Rebecca, I'm afraid I didn't hear that. You're going to have to go again. The silver, you can see the silver on the back. I think it has given rise to sometimes them being known as the silverback jackal. And they're distinct from the side-striped jackal, which we do get in this area, just because that mantle, that black mantle, is much less defined on the side-striped. Side-striped's got a wider face, looks a bit like a wolf, and also it's got a bright white tail, which the blackback does not have. And they will be waiting for the night. They're largely nocturnal, and they'll be going scavenging. They will do quite a lot of hunting on their own. They eat rodents. They'll catch maybe baby scrub hares, even adult scrub hares. And sometimes, if they're really lucky, they'll catch something like a steenbok or a baby duiker or even a baby impala during the lambing season. But mostly for them, it's rodents and probably even the odd sort of a scorpion and maybe a beetle or two. A definitely very Catholic diet. Just like a domestic dog. Doesn't it look like a domestic dog? It's the same genus as a domestic dog. It's the same genus as a wolf. So more closely related to dogs or our domestic dogs and indeed to wolves than the wild dog that we have out here. All around, very calm night is starting to gently fall. I'm so glad we found these chaps. That really is a real boon for Brian's birthday. You like that, Brian?
I did.
Notice all the alliteration there.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I thought it was incredible. I might even take a photograph with my cellular phone. There we go. That won't be amazing. Alrighty, Brian, what do you want to do next on your birthday? And Charlie, you say that they're so fox-like. They are absolutely fox-like, Charlie. They are quite closely related to foxes. If I look, just check something up quickly, I'll just tell you precisely how closely related they are to the African foxes that we get. I don't know where you are, Charlie, or which part of the world you're from, but you know, it'll be interesting to know what kind of foxes you have where you are. But they are, let me just go to the Canidae. 378 warranted. Yes, they are very closely related to the foxes. I'm not sure if they have the same genus or not. The genus of the jackal and the genus of the wolf and the genus of the domestic dog is Canis. That means dog, basically, ironically enough. And I think a fox is probably in a slightly different genus from that. You see the other one there? Oh, spotted. And that's so typical, that typical little run that they do when they go all foraging. I just wish they'd call again. It's such a lovely call. Unfortunately, you couldn't hear it last time because the microphones were facing in completely the wrong direction. And as I was saying, we're just getting some stuff from Final Control here. Jackals are from the genus Canis, as are dogs and wolves, and it is the family Canidae, which we knew, but I'm just not sure whether or not the foxes are in the same genus. We definitely know that they're in the same family, along with the wild dogs. And a fox how that works basically is that the genus is a smaller grouping of the family. So you can get a number of different genuses in the family. And I think some of the foxes are probably Canis, but others definitely aren't. I know the bat-eared fox certainly isn't. And Kathy, you're in New Jersey, a very astute observation from you saying that weren't the black-backed jackals once known as the saddle-backed jackals? Yes, I think they have been known as saddle-backed jackals in the past. So yeah, absolutely. Now the rarest jackal, and indeed the rarest carnivore in all of Africa, looks almost entirely like this, but red and without that mantle on the back. And that is the Ethiopian wolf or simian jackal, which lives up in the Ethiopian highlands. And it's much more a jackal than it is a wolf. It looks very similar to this. It lives in a similar kind of social arrangement, knocking about the place, scavenging largely and hunting rodents. I can't believe how confiding this chap's being. I suppose we are lucky because we have the super zoom. It wouldn't be quite as entertaining if we didn't have this amazing zoom lens that we now have. Oh, Bryan, even closer. Quite amazing. I think he was just bitten by an ant. Well, Bryan, I think that's a really nice surprise for you, don't you?
Two surprises from
Two surprises from Cheetah Plains. Ostrich.
Well, three then.
And, oh, little buffalo.
Baby buffalo.
Baby beef. Let us not forget the baby beef. Alrighty, let's head out of here and see what else we can find. Maybe that leopard, I'm assuming that they saw the tracks of Tingana coming south earlier today. Isn't that precious? Now, Bryan tells me there's a man in the moon there. He showed me the two eyes, which are the two spots, far left and far right, and the nose kind of, that big bulbous thing, I think, at the bottom. He's not a very smiling man, is he, Bryan?
No, he looks quite stern.
Stern and severe. So I can see the rabbit, absolutely. The man I struggle to see quite as well, but I can see him. And so I'll leave it up to you as to who lives in the moon, a rabbit or a man. Okay, let's turn around and let's head back up towards the Nkoro boundary. That's over that way in a northerly direction, and we'll just see if we don't bump into Tingana and maybe one of her little babies. She's got two youngsters. I would very much like to see one of them. We put on some lights, Bryan. Well, that wouldn't make a huge difference. Now, Bryan tells me that this camera has got night mode. We don't know what that is yet, but soon when it gets dark, we'll be able to tell you, and you will be able to see. There. There, they're calling. Can you hear it echoing? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So glad we heard that. Very nice. Okay, Bryan.
All right, James.
Right, we're now at cruise speed. to the leopard. Now Brent is very lucky, well, he was lucky enough to see Tingana the other day when he was guiding out of Djuma. He had some guests there and he took them on a safari and he drove down to Cheetah Plains. This was before we had our WildEarth traversing here, and he managed to see Tingana and her 2 babies. He was well, he was quite painful to deal with after that, actually, for a while, wasn't he? He showed us all his wonderful photographs, which were very good photographs. We were just very jealous, of course. And this is where we saw the ostriches the other day, that couple, and they went running off. Oh, very exciting. Brent has got a hyena and a leopard.
So our timing is impeccable. We've just arrived as he started feeding on the remnants of that carcass. Isn't that just gorgeous? Not very nice smelling where we're sitting, downwind of the carcass. The definite aroma of rotting meat. Oh, you see how he's moving it to make sure he doesn't drop it. And there's a very important reason why he's doing that. And there it is there. Waiting patiently, as always, the spotted hyena. Oh, lots of flies all over that hyena. Looks like it might have got a little morsel. There we go. You can see the light fading behind this magnificent male leopard. Now, none of that carcass will really go to waste. What he can't eat, the hyena will get. And what the hyena doesn't eat, insects might. Well, a lot of thank yous for finding a hyena, even though it wasn't at the den. Well, my pleasure. Very patient hyena. Definitely from our Djuma clan. Look at that. He's trying to break through that bone to get to the marrow on the inside. You can see those large jowls of a male leopard with that dewlap. See, he's got that paw hooked into the skin there to make sure he doesn't drop any morsels to the hyena. Now, it's quite a small hyena underneath the tree, and if he dropped a piece of meat, he's quite full now, he might not fight for it, but if he dropped a full carcass, if he was hungry, and a hyena of that age, a big male leopard like this might definitely attack the hyena and try to push him off. Look at that, lovely colors behind the leopard in the sky. Oh, there it goes. Hyena's on it in a flash. Nice, Dave. Nice camera work. Now, all that patience pays off, because that's quite a big piece of a leg, and I'll be able to extract the marrow from inside there as well. He's taking a bit more care to place the rest of the carcass now. Yes. But nice quick reactions there, Dave. And those hyenas, it always amazes me. They'll spend 3 or 4 days sitting under a leopard kill just waiting for a moment like that. Now we can hear synchronized crushing, one from the leopard and one from the hyena. Yeah, that bigger crushing is from the hyena, getting right through that thick kudu leg bone. Now, this is just a beautiful sight, but I can guarantee you the smell that goes along is not beautiful. So that's a hyena quickly, Dave. Look how he's almost completely eaten that whole leg already. Or she. Can't really see, but look at that. That whole leg's almost gone. And then he's wondering why a hyena would spend all this time for a few scraps when they are capable hunters and can kill their own prey. Now, Lenny, all animals, if they can get a free meal, it's always better than a meal they have to work for. So a free meal, there's no risk, there's no danger of an injury. So hyenas, one of their specialties, and they've evolved to fill this niche in the ecosystem. And it's not just a few scraps. That hyena got that whole bottom part of the kudu leg bone, which is full of very nutrient bone marrow. Oh, again. Oh. He just vomited up and now eating what he vomited, a big thick piece of skin. And that hyena got a fright when he went, "Blah!" He thought, the hyena thought the leopard was coming down to give him a hiding, but it wasn't. And you heard that hyena give a little yelp. So I said, it looks like a male hyena, so not particularly big, and a big male leopard like this could definitely give that hyena a bit of a hiding. Oh, smoke. Oh, it's the dust in front of our lens there. Just lots of dust in the air tonight. I thought our light was smoking for a second. I got a bit worried. Oh, listen to that. See, there's that bone marrow. You saw that white come out? I'm just going to try and move forward a tiny bit for Mike. How's that, Mike? There we go. Illuminate both. See, that hyena made very quick work of that big bone. Oh, is he going to drop another piece? Dave, are you ready? Ooh, that was so close. He nearly lost him. Look at him trying to get it back now. AJ is wondering how many days of cats are we on. Do I remember? AJ, I actually don't at the moment. So if anyone can tell me how many days in a row we've had a big cat, what our streak is at the moment, I can't remember, unfortunately. So if you know what our cat streak is on, please let me know by sending me an email, questions@wildearth.tv, or use the hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter. Hi, Gracie. Gracie's 8 years old and one of our SafariLIVE regulars. Oh, he nearly dropped it again. Gracie thinks it's very nice of the leopard to share. Gracie, I don't think he's sharing on purpose, but it is nice for the hyena. I agree with you. Who's made short work, finished all that was shared, or it looks like might still have a few little bits. Now, the only thing that the hyena is not going to be able to digest is the hooves. The hooves are keratin, all hooves and hair. So it won't eat those, or if it does, it'll just pass through their system. So currently we are 11 days straight with cats. So a good streak going. Our last streak got broken up around the same time, but hopefully this continues. And the record is 28 days in a row with big cats. So quite a record to try get to. So Dylan in Iowa is wondering, do different animals smell differently when dead? I think most of the antelope smell very similar when they're dead. Elephants tend to smell quite bad. I think that's just generally because of the size. And a lot more meat gets rotten at the same time. But the thing I found that smells quite different when they're dead, and actually much smellier, is a snake. A dead snake is possibly one of the smelliest things out here in the bush, and I have no good fancy reason why. It just is. This is just a wonderful sighting, two of Africa's apex predators, as they should be, as they have been for millennia. And the story unfolding right next to us. Hyena's finished almost all all of what's been dropped so far. I got a feeling Tingana's going to drop another piece shortly. Isn't this just spectacular? Not a bad way to spend a Wednesday evening at work. So, Donna, Rocky Knight, and many others are saying, great work, Dave. Great shot. Dave's blushing, guys. He's not, but he is acknowledging and saying thanks very much. Always getting to the tricky bit where he might drop something. Penny Pine is wondering where are the other hyena. Well, today I've only seen one hyena here, and I haven't seen any others, but they might come moving in after dark. Going to check for no little morsels that might have dropped. Even the tiniest little scrap a hyena will happily make use of. Is he going to drop that big bone? So a male leopard's not probably going to. He's probably he might be able to crack into the top half of that bone, but it might be a bit too thick for him. The bottom half. Taking a break. He does have a very full belly. So it's a very interesting dynamic between all the predators out here. And Andreas is wondering if any of the other predators eat hyena. Not normally, Andreas. Male lions will kill hyena. I have seen them eat hyena once or twice, but that is unusual. It is not the norm. Normally, if a predator kills another predator, they don't always eat them. They just leave the carcass there. Bryan Smith's wondering, would a hyena follow lions or leopards continuously and leave their territories to stay with them? Well, Ellen, they don't really follow them continuously all the time. What a hyena will normally do is they will run into an area if they hear the alarm calls or they hear the sound of a lion or a leopard catching another animal, and they'll just go check if there's a chance at a free meal. But they won't follow them continuously, and they would never leave their territory into another hyena clan's territory, because that is almost certain death for a hyena if they get caught by another clan. See how much darker the sky is behind now? There's a moth just flying past the lens. A hyena still playing the patience game. Yeah. Oh, I heard something fall, something tiny. Looked like it's about to lie down. I have seen various bits of leopard kills fall on top of hyenas' heads while they've been fast asleep under a tree. So, if we come out a bit, we can see the hyena has taken up the resting position, waiting for the next titbit to drop. Now, Tingana is definitely going to finish what's left of this kill this evening, so it'll be interesting to see from his tracks in the morning which way he disappears. Is he going to go west? Is he going to go east? Is he going to stay on Juma? Is he going to be so full he's going to sleep next to Treehouse Waterhole for the night? That, I think, is probably the most unlikely of all scenarios. He'll probably set out on his patrols and scent marking, calling, advertising to any other male leopard in the area that he is the king of this domain. Waiting patiently, looking up longingly. Something drop, something drop. Wouldn't it be funny if that leg dropped on its head? Oh, I think that piece is about 4. What do you think, Dave?
Very close.
Very close, just held on by a few bits of sinew. Now the question is it going to land on the hyena or not? Or is he going to save it by pulling it a bit higher up into the tree? Ah, he's got a paw on it. Safety first, Mr. T. Oh, here we go. You got a good crunch there. going at the joint where you can get through and maybe find a sort of gap or a soft spot to open up to get into some of that bone marrow and the bigger bones. Look at those beautiful big canines. So we're talking earlier in the drive about how leopards sometimes kill, so they use that suffocation grip, but on smaller prey they use a cranial bite. So basically they just bite through the skull of whatever they've killed, using all four canines to penetrate the brain. So Dylan in Iowa is wondering, do we ever find bones in trees from long ago leopard kills? Occasionally we do. Normally they mostly fall out, but I think of 2 or 3 spots in Djuma where I know of some bones in a tree left over. I think 2 of them are from Karuda, and 1 from Kanuma. But then even eventually those might be dislodged by wind or whatnot when they're completely dry and sitting up in the tree. Oh, there we go. I think it's going to fall. That's the last bit of skin. So William is wondering, will the leopard come out of the tree while the hyena is still there? In this circumstance here, it's a big male leopard, not a particularly big hyena, he might. If there were more than one hyena, he might not. It all just depends on each individual scenario. Oh, we're getting right to the end there. There's very little left for a leopard to take advantage of. A little bit dropped, tiny bit. Not really enough to keep the hyena too busy. That's sort of one mouthful. I do think a bigger piece is going to drop shortly though. So close to going straight through. So cracking open that bone and just to get at that bone marrow, obviously very high in nutrients. Now, from where we're sitting, every time one of these bones is broken open, either by the hyena or the leopard, a really, really strong smell of decay comes through. So quite rotten bone marrow. sort of a much stronger rotting smell comes through when they open up those legs. Amalia is wondering, are male leopards territorial from birth, or do they only establish that later? Only much later, Amalia. One of the reasons is you don't want a male leopard staying in his mother's territory, because then he will mate with his mother or his sisters. So one of the reasons they move away and only really start going after females and challenging males when they're 5 or 6 is because they're big enough and strong enough then to challenge the other males in the area for those territories. And generally by the time they're that age, they're 1, or they could be 2 or 3 or even up to 10 female leopard territories away from their natal range. Oh, there's a big drop. Happy hyena. Sounds like another hyena coming in. Get ready. It could be a more dominant hyena than the one here. There's a hyena coming in. See it there? Now, we saw some very interesting hyena behavior on the remains of a leopard carcass a few nights ago with shadow, where that one hyena was eating as fast as it could before the other dominant hyenas came in and stole the kill from it. So obviously these are either very similar ranking individuals, or the one who's arrived is a lower ranking individual than the one on the left. Oh, there he dropped. Oh, there's all going on here. There's about to be everything's just... Oh, on the hyena's head. We've been waiting for that all night. So there we go. That one is more dominant. You heard that cackling. Oh, let's see, the tail's up, excitement. Or maybe not more dominant. It's quite interesting. I think the bigger one, the one that arrived second, it got the piece there. You arrived a little bit later, you know, there's been lots of tidbits falling. There's not much left now, and that looks like quite a bit of skin and sinew. He might try eat some of it, but it looks like he might be done after losing that last piece of leg. He looks very tired. Whoa, he nearly dropped it. He just caught it with his claw. I think if he moves his left foot, that's going to fall as well. Well, there we go. Now it is done. That just looked like a very tough-looking piece of skin. Nothing too appetizing. looks like he might. There you go, doing a bit of cleaning. He might come down the tree now. He might go for a drink at the waterhole. Get some of that smelly bone marrow off his face. Incredible balance from these big cats. You hear some scratching going on. The mosquitoes are quite out in quite force this evening. Oh, no, let's clean next leg. No, are we going to come down? No, we're still cleaning. Even though they do spend quite a lot of time grooming, they are still not an animal you want to go stroke. They have lots of nasty parasites, parasites. So I think I hear some elephants behind us, possibly. That's what caused them to look back. Like some elephants not too far behind us as well. I can't see those Ellies behind us. I can just hear them. And it sounds like they're moving away from us, so no problem. Oh, look at that. Isn't that stunning? Looks like he's thinking about coming down the tree. So Doug in Connecticut is wondering how long it took me to get used to the smell of a rotting carcass. Doug, I think I've always been used to the smell of a rotting carcass. I grew up on farms and in the bush, so it was just sort of one of those smells that was around. And Doug would also like to know whether Dave has got used to the smell.
Last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so just hang on, just give me a second, Dave. I just want to check this. Elephant, in case it starts misbehaving. And sometimes when Ellies smell carcasses and that, they come to investigate, and they can sometimes be a little bit aggressive. So what I'm doing is I'm just getting my spotlight ready, and it's quite a useful tool with elephants at night. They don't like light, so I don't want to, but if I need to, I might just put the spotlight right onto them. Okay, they're still a fair distance away. Hopefully that smell will keep them away. They might be heading for a moonlit drink at the treehouse waterhole. hyena's moved off. Okay, so the Ellies are aware in the direction he's looking. That's just absolutely stunning. He's just watching the elephants at the moment. I can't see them yet, I can just hear them. Oh, hyena's back. Now, he wouldn't be too worried about an elephant. He's quite fast when he needs to be. Almost looks like he's very full and just sort of trying to decide what to do next. Oh, another hyena's in and out. Picked up something small and disappears into the darkness. And we might hear an elephant trumpet because that hyena has gone towards where the Ellies were heading. It looks like he might rest up in the tree for a while he's got that big belly. His eyes look to be getting a little bit heavy. If not in the tree, I think he might just rest at the base. Maybe head for a drink at the treehouse waterhole a little later. Such a beautiful, beautiful animal. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Sunset Safari. And we've really enjoyed it. I'm going to be closing for James as well. So from James and birthday boy Bryan, Dave, myself, and the whole SafariLIVE team, thanks for joining us. And I know you'd much rather spend your last few seconds looking at the beautiful male leopard Tingana than my ugly mug. So I'm going to keep quiet and let you just enjoy this incredible sight.
Yes.